Hello Internet and welcome to a new tutorial. So recently Arturia released the bigger brother of the MicroFreak, the MiniFreak, and they did something really special with this one. They've released it in both formats, hardware and software, and they're like both identical. They do the same things, they have the exact same set of features, etc., etc. And today I want to take a quick look at the software version of the synthesizers, share my thoughts on it with you, and most importantly, see what kind of psychedelic juices we can get out of it. Now, before we dive into this tutorial, if you'd like to support the channel, you can consider becoming one of my patrons, buy my presets on Gumroad, or just leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Things like that helps the channel a lot. Now, with that said, let's dive into this tutorial. Okay, so here's the MiniFreak. In a quick overview, we have a couple of oscillators in here. They share most of the algorithms with the MicroFreak, but for the wavetable engine. That's a little bit weird, but hopefully they will add it in a future update. Now, the first oscillator, we can use it as an audio input, turning the MiniFreak into an effect unit. And the second oscillator actually has some effect algorithms in here. They are the FMRM, multi-surgeon comp phaser filters, and the destroyer. It's basically a distortion unit. And these effects, what they does is affect the output of the first oscillator before it reaches the filtering stage or the filter. And I think this is quite a unique feature in here, and hopefully I will see it in more and more future synthesizers because it expands the sonic possibilities of the oscillator and the whole sound design possibilities you can do with the synthesizers. So yeah, this is a really nice feature. And just like with the MicroFreak, we have three main controls for the oscillators, and here they've added a volume knob. The controls are like straight to the point, so you won't spend a lot of time trying to tweak it. This kind of limits the oscillators, but at the same time makes using it a little bit faster and, as I said, like straight to the point. Sometimes it's an advantage, sometimes it's a disadvantage. To be honest, I'm used to work with it the way it is, and it's one of the things that makes the MicroFreak, and in this case the MiniFreak, what they are. So yeah, you either love it or hate it. I mean, yeah, this is really how I see it. Next, we have the filter. It's the same SEM, 12 decibels per octave resonant filter, nothing to add in here. You have low pass, band pass, high pass. And then there's the effects unit. Finally, they've added effects to this synthesizer. And yeah, we have chorus, phaser flanger, distortion, beat crusher, 3 bands EQ. That's really nice, by the way, peak EQ, and a multicomp. So the multicomp is basically a multi-band compressor. And to be honest, I've never seen this in a hardware synthesizer before. Well, at least not under the range of 1,000 euros. So I think this is really nice addition in here. And each of the effects has presets in here. And these presets aren't knob combinations, but they're like, they change how the whole effect sounds. So even though you have only three knobs to control an effect, with these presets, you expand the sonic possibilities of each one of the effects. And I think that this is really a nice touch they've added to the MiniFreak. Okay, so that was the sound generation, filtering, and effect section. Now let's talk about sound modulation a little bit. So we have a couple of LFOs. They're identical. They have the classic shapes, but the most important shape is the shaper one. So the shaper one, think of it as some sort of a in between an LFO and a step sequencer. So you can actually draw your shapes in here. It doesn't have the best drawing tools ever, but it lets you draw your own unique shapes to modulate things the way you like. Like you can create percussive sequences with it, and I think this makes the synthesizer really unique. That's actually a selling point for me. So yeah, great one, Arturia. Thanks. And we have a couple of envelopes in here. So the cycling envelope exactly identical as the one on the MicroFreak, and the amp envelope in here. They finally added an attack, decay, sustain, release, like a full envelope, because the cycling envelope has the fault stage in here that controls the decay and the release at the same time. So yeah, that's really nice to have a full envelope. Here we have the voicing section. We can choose from mono, unison, poly, paraphonic. It can go up to 12 voices in paraphonic mode and 6 voices in poly mode. And here we can choose the scale that we want the keyboard to basically track. So basically the keyboard will only play the good notes, and you will sound like a really good player playing only the white keys that are in the key that you like. So yeah, I really love this cheat, to be honest. So yeah, always good to have it, if you want to add it. And speaking of cheating with the keyboard and like playing only the right keys, you can set the oscillators in here to, you can quantize them basically. So, like for example, I can set it to Frisian dominant in here. And if I'll modulate the pitch of the oscillator, let's say with the second LFO, check what we will get. And this is actually really nice. Like you can put a random modulation on the pitch of the oscillator and always play the right notes and stay in tune, like create like endless melodies that are always in tune, like it doesn't sound dissonant and stuff. So yeah, that's it's actually fun. Like it's not a necessary feature for me, but it's always fun to have it. So yeah, okay. That's nice. And yeah, we have a couple of macros in here, and each of the macros can go to up to 4 destinations to control. That's quite nice. And yeah, then we have the sequencer in here. The sequencer is really powerful. I'm not going to go in details of what it can do, but basically you can create your own sequences and you have 4 lanes of modulation. So that's always nice to have. Actually, Arturia are known for their really powerful sequences, and they did this with the MiniFreak. So yeah, as I said, I won't go in details in here. I'll leave that for another video. Now, let's hear how it sounds because we're here for that. The first sound example, it has to be the Psy Bass line, right? I mean, the MiniFreak, at least on paper, has everything it needs to make a proper Psy Bass line, so let's do so. So here we have a sequence, sounds like this. Okay, so the oscillator can retrig its phase, so that's really nice. We can't choose the phase, but at least it can retrig. You can see it on the oscilloscope. Pretty cool. I'll take it an octave lower, so now I have this. That's pretty cool. Now the second oscillator in here, I'll set it to the multi-filter. And I think it's the multimode filter from Pigments. At least for my ears, they sound the same. Now in here, we have a 24 decibel per octave mode. We can set it to 36 or to 12. Well, I'll leave it to 24 in here. I'll close it a little bit. And I'll open the cutoff with the cycling envelope. By the way, one of the things I really love about these synthesizers is this modulation matrix. I really love it. It's like straight to the point and you can add options in here. So yeah, that's I really love this modulation matrix. Anyways, cycling envelope in here. Let's make it modulate the cutoff of the first oscillator. So oscillator to wave in here. So let's do just so. Okay, pretty cool. Now, what's really interesting about these envelopes, and I didn't tell in the overview, if you click on this little utility knob in here, you can change the curves of these envelopes. So the default curve in here, I'll set it to percussive. So now we have this. Pretty nice so far, and I didn't use the SEM filter yet, and I won't use it anyways. Now let's go to the effects in here, turn it on, and set the first effect to the multi-comp, right? So check what we will have now. Let's go back to home. Now we have this. Let's turn down the amount a little bit. Play with the tone a little bit. Okay, that's nice. Let's change the preset. Let's set it back to OPP. I like it on OPP and turn down the amount. If you want to go in details about making a proper psytrance bassline, I already made a masterclass on that. You can check it in my Gumroad. Down there's a link in the description. Okay, so now we're done with the multiband compressor. Let's add a little bit of distortion. Okay, that's really tight, by the way. For the distortion, let's try the tape algorithm. Let's add a little bit of gain. Listen how it beefs it up. That's really nice. And to finish it up, I'm going to add a tiny bit of equalizing. Let's set to 3 bands EQ in here. Let's turn down the mids. It's really plucky, I really love it. Now, let's hear it with the kick. That's really nice. And I didn't add any extra processing to it. So the synthesizer, right out of the box, without any processing, it can give you a proper psytrance bassline. I mean, I can't think of any synthesizer that can do this today, well, at least as properly as this one without any external processing. So, at least for me, this is a really good point in the favor of the MiniFreak. But now let's try it in more traditional sound designs. So, one of the things I really loved about the MicroFreak was its ability to create some really weird textures and atmospheres. So, let's try to create something like that inside of the MiniFreak, and then I'll show you some of the presets that I did with it, just to give you some sound examples, okay? So let's go to the first oscillator in here, and let's choose the harmonic engine, right? So it sounds like this. Okay, nothing too special about it. But if we go to the advanced tab in here, the voices, let's set them to unison. And if we click on this little utility knob in here, we can control the unison, right? So now we have 6 voices of unison. So basically there are 6 voices stacked one on top of the other. And if I play with the unison spread, check what we will have. Let's keep it somewhere around 10, 11. It's like the most dissonant. Set the spreading to the maximum. Give it some nice attack. Turn down the volume a little bit. Pretty cool. And now the second oscillator, I'll use it as an effect unit. And actually, I'll use the multi-filter in here again. And I'll set it to bandpass 24. So now we have this. Let's give it some resonance. Pretty interesting, right? And with the effects in here, let's add some chorus. Maybe set it to lush. Let's play with the presets a little bit. Yeah, let's keep it on lush. Yeah, that's a little bit way too much. Let's, with the second effect, add a multiband compressor in here, and let's set it to the high control preset. Yeah, that's too much chorus. I love it. And now what we can do, we'll add a third effect in here. Let's set it to delay. Let's set, we have all of these delays. They sound really good. Let's set it to filtered sync in here and set it to something fast like 1/16. This, now we have this. Oh, we can set it to either set or insert. I'll set it as an insert. So this is now a dry and wet knob. And now we have this. Can give it a little bit more resonance. And just to try some different things, we can set the second oscillator, for example, to the fMRI mode, right? And we can play with the ring mod in here. We're getting like some really weird stuff. Bandpass on the filter in here, give it some resonance. Okay, no, that's really, really weird. Let's take down the resonance in here, set it to low pass as it was, and set it back to the multimode filter. Yeah, some really, really weird textures. Let's take down the rectifier, for instance. Let's add a random ARP behind it, okay? I'll use my node grid device, the rhythmizer clone. And let's add a sample and hold LFO on the spreading in here. So here's the first LFO. I'll set it to sample and hold. I'll set it to, let's say, 1/8. And with the modulation matrix in here, it's going to control the spreading. So it's the oscillator 1 wave. Set it to 1/16. Turn it down a little bit. Now I have this. Some weird stuff going on in here. Weird psychedelic bleeps and lobs, right? Let's set the time to 1/32. Give it a little bit more feedback and maybe some classic 1/8 dotted ping pong delay. Oh my God, this is so good. Let's put a pattern here and check it out with some kick and bass. Okay, there's way too much mids and it needs some compression, some EQing, but yeah, I mean, like we're just having fun with the synthesizer right now, right? And it sounds really good, actually. So yeah, as I said, like weird and full of resonances, kind of like textures. The MicroFreak was really good for that, so this one should be. With that, let's move on to the other presets that I've prepared for this tutorial. Okay, so here's the first preset, and it has a macro modulation already, as you can see, routed to the cutoff in here. So let's hit play. See this kind of like really psychedelic high resonances, kind of like textures and stuff. Let's give it some more delay and play a little bit more with it. Okay, so the second sound, we have this. Again, as you can see, we have the first oscillator in here. It's on modal mode, and it goes to the second oscillator, which is on phaser filter thing, and then everything gets just fed into a multiband compressor and a delay. And really nothing too special. The synthesizer, as I said, it's like if it's meant to make these kind of sounds. Let's move on to the next sound. So here we have a one-shot effect, sounds like this. Another example of how the synthesizer is really good in these like high resonances sounds. Okay, so here we have a sample and hold kind of lead thing with some microcontrol with a kick and bass. It sounds like this. Pretty weird and like yeah, psychedelic stuff, you know, going on. Let's move on to the next sound. The next sound, here we have some FM, and we need to manually modulate the cutoff for that, so let's check it out. pretty unique FM. You know, like it's not the kind of FM that you hear in other synthesizers. And yeah, this is what makes the synthesizer unique, I guess. And by the way, all of these patches and others will be available for my Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon, it's the time to do so. Okay, so that was a really quick overview of the MiniFreak and what it can do. If I have to give my honest opinion on it, I really think it's a great addition for any synth setup. It's not a main synthesizer, and so far, like it can't act as a main synthesizer, but it's a synthesizer that has a unique sound and features to it. And it's like one of these sounds when you finish your track and you're like, okay, there's still something missing in the track. This is the kind of synthesizer you will use to polish it up. I hope that makes sense. It's like the synthesizer is really capable of creating like freaky tones and textures that no other synthesizer can create. And this is one of its points of strength, and at the same time, one of its disadvantages, because as I said, it makes it not the go to synthesizer for every task. So, yeah, in a nutshell, this is what I think about the synthesizer. And yeah, I really love it and I'm keeping it. Like, I really love this thing. And yeah, I hope I've helped you to discover what this synthesizer is capable of doing. There will be more videos about it in the future, especially when I spend more time with it, discovering, what it can do. But yeah, with this is the end of this tutorial. I really hope you've liked it. I really hope you've learned something new, and see you next time.